G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, back at it again with another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you love this video, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, a like on the video, and get ready for some bloody good content. Posted by user, Need Advice Please, titled, Am I the a-hole for being okay with cheating unless it's in my own relationship? I'll make this short and sweet. I'm dating somebody now, and I would never cheat on them, and I'd hope for and expect them to never cheat on me. We got in an argument earlier because I admitted that before I met him, I didn't see a problem with me being the other woman because quite frankly, they weren't my relationships. And if somebody expressed interest in me, I felt like it was okay because I'm not cheating on and breaking trust with a partner. I'm just living out a fantasy or kink, along with the man I'm sleeping with who is as well. My boyfriend's point of view is that cheating in any form by all parties is wrong, and he doesn't know if he can trust that I won't cheat on him because I've openly admitted to being the other woman. The point of view is that I love him and I would never want to hurt him in that way. It wasn't my fault that men in other relationships lied to their partners, and it's not my fault that they wanted to do things with me. I will admit that it can be morally questionable to be a homewrecker, but I feel like the blame should be on the person actually in the relationship, not the person who was chosen. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for being okay with other people's cheating? Yes, you're the a-hole for that. It's very much shunned in our society. It's not a socially acceptable thing to do. You will lose a lot of friends and a lot of relationships with people for holding this opinion. You're the a-hole. Funny you wouldn't want it done to you, but you have no problem being a catalyst for extreme emotional turmoil in someone else's relationship. I don't agree with OP, but I kinda get where she's coming from. The cheater should take 1000% responsibility for cheating on their significant other, rather than the other woman/man, because the cheater is directly lying and being unfaithful in their own relationship with significant other. The cheater's actions is the catalyst, and not the action of the other man/woman. I think OP is simply saying that she does not feel as though she has betrayed anyone for being the other woman, and thus does not feel obligated or responsible. However, OP's lack of remorse or guilt, I personally can't relate, but I do get her perspective. Don't think there's a good way of wording her view on this without sounding like an a-hole. Edit, in response to the comments and OP, should she be responsible? No. Is it morally questionable? Yes. The key here is responsibility versus morality. Obviously, she's a big a-hole on the morality side, but there's an argument to be had whether she deserves to take responsibility. Not much of an argument in my opinion though. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole as well as a hypocrite. So if your significant other cheats on you with a family member/friend, then according to your logic, you'll still have a good relationship with them, as it wasn't their fault your significant other showed interest in them? OP, you're the a-hole. Like many have said, it takes two to tango. Being that other person makes you just as guilty. I don't blame your boyfriend. You said you're fine with being the homewrecker. It brings paranoia. If I had a partner who had a history of being with the other woman, I wouldn't trust them. Listen, OP, in your logic, you are restrained to only participate in cheating when it seems best for you or when you're single, and you expect it to have no repercussions since you're just the person they cheated on with. Not everybody, including your boyfriend, shares that logic. When they see that you've actively participated in it, they not only see you as a hypocrite, but also a serial cheater, and I agree with this logic. I don't know how you can save this relationship if your boyfriend doesn't see and accept your logic, and don't force him to. But yeah, you're the a-hole. It's not great, but I don't think the blame is 50-50. A mistress hasn't made a commitment and isn't breaking both moral and legal vows. Both suck, but it's definitely like an 80-20 split who sucks more. Posted by Deleted, titled, Am I the a-hole for not explaining straight away about how I lost my leg? I am male and I'm 24 years old. In the summer of 2016, I was driving pretty late at night. There wasn't anybody around, so I was enjoying the peace and quiet. Then, out of nowhere, this speeding car hit me, and I remember hearing a loud screech and seeing black. The next thing I remember is waking up in hospital, and I'm told I was in a horrific car crash. Basically, another driver had been drunk driving and was speeding and slammed straight into the driver's side of my car. My lower body was crushed, and I had broken all the major bones in my lower right leg beyond repair, and that my leg had been immediately amputated from the knee whilst I was unconscious. I also had breaks in other parts of me, open bleeding wounds, and even some burned wounds as part of the car had been leaking and caught fire. All in all, I was pretty lucky to be alive, as I should have died. Anyway, I had a long recovery. I was in hospital for months and also learned to walk again with a fake leg. When I eventually did heal, I was left with some noticeable burn scars, normal scars due to the crash, and quite glaringly a missing leg. The crash had a profound effect on me as I was only 20, and it destroyed my relationship with my then girlfriend and my mental health. It took me a long time to feel comfortable being an amputee, and I decided to get into the dating game. My friends helped me, and I have currently been talking to someone for the past few weeks, and we've been able to meet a couple of times. She knows I'm missing a leg, but I never explained why, as I didn't really know her, and it was an insanely personal thing to open up about. I finally told her what happened to me last night, and explained that it's not something that's easy for me to talk about, and how I'm pretty scarred, both physically and mentally, from it. I kinda thought she'd get it, but she got really angry with me. She said that I'm an a-hole, as I clearly don't trust her enough to open up about my past to her, especially something as huge as the crash, as it's pretty visible I only have one leg. I tried to reason with her and say that it's only been a few weeks, but I just made things worse. I do really like her, and I think maybe I could have said something earlier, so I can see why she felt a little hurt, but I also believe that sometimes huge things take time to come out, so am I the a-hole? I'm gonna go with a big ol' fat no. I don't see how you could be the a-hole for that. She's just a stuck-up personality for not accepting that. You will find many people in life that will be completely and 100% transparent with you and be like, thank you for telling me. I know that was a hard thing to open up about. I respect that. I hope that you're feeling better now that you've told me. They won't just straight away get angry at you for not telling them earlier. That is a disgustingly huge red flag. What? You didn't tell me about your horrendous car crash when we first met? How can I trust you? What else are you hiding from me? Is there a third leg down there, Sonny Jim? Grrr. Not the a-hole. It's only been a few weeks, and it's entirely up to you if and when you feel comfortable telling someone about it. She has really overreacted there. Also, I'm sorry about your crash, but I'm glad to hear you're getting through it. The driver got charged with DUI, dangerous driving, and charges related to the damages. Turns out he had a few DUIs before, so got a few years in jail and is still there. So at least the guy got charged. But thank you, I'm doing fine. Ugh, I won't lie, it makes my blood boil that even with a few DUIs, he apparently had a license and a vehicle, and it wasn't until you were nearly killed that he went to jail. I am so sorry for your loss because of his recklessness. However, I am glad that you're alive and recovering. Anyways, not the a-hole. As others said, you are not obligated to reveal details of a traumatic event until you feel comfortable doing so. Yeah, the law system is screwed. I have an acquaintance who was in a horrific car accident in Philadelphia a month ago or so. She and her fiancé were hit by a man who was under the influence of PCP and alcohol, going 95 miles per hour in a 45. Her fiancé died at the scene. She had to be cut out of the car. She was 5 months pregnant, she lost her baby, she lost her right leg. She had to have a hysterectomy so she could never have children. Oh my god, this is terrible. This was her first child, and she was in a coma for 5 days. She posts on Facebook, and my heart breaks for her. I cannot imagine the pain she is going through, physical and emotional. As for the drunk driver, no injuries, nothing. Edit, she is only 30 years old. Unfortunately, drunkenness has a protective effect as far as injuries goes. One of my exes took his parents' car to a party in high school, got wasted, and totaled it. He staggered away without a scratch. He told them it was stolen, and everyone believed him. Not the a-hole. This is a red flag that she's making you feel guilty about something so personal. You have every right to wait to talk about your trauma. No one would ever think to pressure a vet about combat or a woman to talk about her incident after only a few dates. I get an emotionally controlling vibe from her. Get out before anyone gets hurt. To be honest, I'm gonna see how this plays out because I think that I need to talk to her again anyway. You don't owe her an apology at all. If anything, she should be apologizing to you for making you feel bad about something so personal. If she digs her heels in, please heed that as a really bad sign. Update. Thought it was clear enough, but the guy who hit me was drunk driving, not me. I was sober. Update 2. A lot of people have said this is a red flag, so to be honest, I'm considering asking to meet her again and explain that her behavior was now, I realize, not okay, and that I'm considering things between us. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. Update 3. I read a lot of comments basically saying I deserved better, and screw it. After a few hours of thinking, you're right. I asked to meet her again, and I plan on telling her to her face I don't see us going anywhere. Posted by user Not Fatty Faults, titled, Am I the a-hole? I refuse to take responsibility for my daughter's eating disorder, or disorders. Me, 48, daughter, 22, has a laundry list of issues growing up that continued into adulthood. She has severe low self-esteem. Every compliment you give her gets shot down by a self-deprecating joke. I'd be lying to say it's not embarrassing at times. I know I was not the best mum growing up, and in my defense, my husband left me when she was only 1 with 2 other children, and didn't show up until they were adults. It was stressful in every way, but I made sure they had the essentials: shelter, running water, clothes, heat, and food. I have blurted out things to my children in the heat of the moment. I've called my daughter a cow and a fat ass once or twice in her childhood. Again, at least twice I've done this. It was not an everyday thing. My daughter showed weird habits with food throughout childhood. She would hide food in her bedroom, I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and she'd be eating while crying. Certain days, she would overeat, then the next day refuse to eat. She started bulimia around 14. She started therapy at 19. Recently, her therapist thought it would be beneficial if I joined one of their Zoom sessions to discuss certain things. I was adamant, seeing I knew right away it was going to be daughter blaming me for every problem, and she assured me it wasn't. Obviously, that wasn't the case. She mentioned the comments I made in the past and said she thinks this triggered her habits. Her therapist didn't defend me. At one point, I was sick of the blame game. I said very gently, neither of my 2 children have eating disorders. To say I'm the primary reason she has disorders is unfair. She is using me as a scapegoat instead of addressing the real issue, and if she continues to blame me for her issues, she would have disowned me when she could have. Since her attitude is impacting me so heavily, perhaps I need to distance myself from her. I ended the meeting and have not spoken to her since. I intend to speak to her soon, but hope, if not, to expect an apology. I need everything possible for my children as a single parent. I am by no means a perfect parent, but all 3 are alive and semi-healthy. I think this is another case of the OP being in denial, and very heavily down in the deeps of denial, and even a therapist hasn't been able to help them in this situation. They're definitely the a-hole in this situation, and I think they know that. I just think they don't want to come to grips with reality, and it's really sad to see the effect it's having on their family. You're the a-hole. A therapist is not there to defend you. A therapist is there to allow their patient to talk about the issue. If you were invited, it was because the issue needed to be discussed in an open environment with someone who knows professionally how to handle this. You failed. You blew up and essentially told your daughter you do not care that you impacted her and triggered a disorder. You do not deserve an apology, and you should not hope or expect one. You are the one who is in the wrong here. This is probably a repeating pattern. Daughter tries to talk to mother about ways she's hurting her, mother blows up and says nothing is her fault, walks away and washes her hands of any wrongdoing, rinse and repeat. You're the a-hole. It's a sad and real pattern with narcissistic, abusive, or negligent parents. It's awful to see. You're the a-hole. On what planet are you not? You were a crap parent by your own admission. You said hurtful things to your daughter that stuck with her to this day. Good Lord, you suck. She keeps stressing how she did the bare minimum, plus verbal abuse, like she deserves a freaking pat on the back or something. Look, I provided all the legal essentials. You know, the ones that I need to provide or the government will take my kids away. The literal lowest bar. Who cares if I have a child who has struggled with eating disorders and probably other mental issues for almost a decade? I kept the heat on, so it cannot possibly be my fault. Posted by user, Am I the A-hole sexist tradition? Titled, Am I the A-hole for refusing to contest a will? I'm probably the a-hole, but hey, let's see what the internet people think. My father passed away during New Year's Day. It's been pretty rough, but I'm doing much better now. I have a younger brother and an older sister. My father owns about 1,000 acres worth of land in Texas. When my brother and I were teens, my sister was in college. She got outed as gay to my dad, and it didn't go down that good. He eventually disowned her. A couple of years later, he tried to reach out to my sister, which she, understandably, refused. Flash forward 20 years. I am married and have a kid. My sister is also married, but they have no kids. My brother moved to Jamaica and got involved in a religion/cult there. Since the only kid my father has regular contact with is me, he decided to give me the vast amount of his wealth, namely his land. Most of his other assets went to my brother, and a single-family heirloom went to my sister. My sister and my brother want to contest the will. If we all agreed to do it, then we can divide the land equitably. I don't see how I'm benefiting at all from this decision. I want my future kids to be secure. I have nothing to lose if I don't contest it. Also, I don't think I've talked to either of them in a couple of years. I'm obviously being called an a-hole by my siblings, so am I one? Am I the a-hole? Just because you can hoard wealth doesn't mean you should hoard wealth, especially from your siblings who you grew up with and I'm sure you had good relationships with, OP. What's wrong with you? Why are you using the excuse of your kids? It's obviously you that wants this. You don't care about your kids having it. You don't care about your siblings, do you? You suck. Edit. I've thought about this for a couple of days now. I've decided to not contest it after getting an attorney. Oh, I'm sure the attorney looked at it from a non-biased point of view. Plus, my siblings were being jerks to me for basically their entire lives, and they are still being huge jerks. I guess this is a natural consequence of karma. Edit 2, just to pee her off, I'm going to offer her probably an acre of landlocked property. Thanks for all your judgments. You are a terrible person, OP. You're the a-hole. You wouldn't be losing anything at all. You'd be helping right the wrong of your sister being treated like crap by her own father for simply being who she is. Your brother effectively cut off contact with your dad because of his religious beliefs. Cults separate people from their families. It's part of what defines them as a cult. And that was probably very upsetting and painful for your dad. But your dad did the same thing to your sister because of his religious beliefs. That's conjecture, but tell me I'm wrong. You're the only one who had sustained contact with your intolerant father just because you're the only sibling whose lifestyle he didn't disagree with. You didn't earn anything here, and you have an opportunity to right years of wrongs committed upon your sister in particular. Also, your kids definitely didn't earn that land, so don't pretend you're more deserving of it on your behalf of your kids, or that you stand to lose anything at all by dividing it up. Your brother's situation makes this stickier. If he's truly part of a bona fide cult, there's a decent chance that anything of value willed to him will go to the cult. I don't know what you do about that. But your father was an a-hole to your sister in life and could have taken one final stab at making amends by including her in his will. Instead, he's chosen to be an a-hole to her even in death. You have a chance to do right by your sister, be the hero or be the a-hole. All of this. He's benefiting from other people's homophobia and doesn't seem to have the problem with that. Seems to be the same thing everyone else thinks. It's okay to benefit from something as long as you didn't do it. If your father disinherited her because she married a black person, it'd be okay to benefit from that racism, right? I don't know, people. There's a lot of a-holes on this subreddit. Not the a-hole. It wouldn't be in your or your children's best interest to contest the will that already leaves the biggest asset to you. I don't see how acting in OP's self-interest is an argument for them not being the a-hole. I don't know about the brother, not enough detail, but it does seem here that at least the sister got screwed for coming out and didn't really deserve to lose her share. So yeah, no alternative will result in more money for OP, but I get the feeling they are more interested in the money versus doing the right thing. You're the a-hole. What share? The father tried to apologize and the sister rejected him. That is her right, and no one would blame her for it. But it seems a bit scheming and entitled to expect to come reap her share of his wealth afterward. No reconciliation, no bequeathing, can't reject him in life and expect to be treated the same as the son who stayed. To be fair, it says he reached out, not explicitly that he tried to apologize. He could have been one of those parents who wanted to be involved again without ever admitting wrongdoing. Even OP says it's understandable that she refused. Posted by user Have Truck Will Travel, titled, "Am I the a-hole for not helping my coworker move after I showed up and no one was ready for the move and they started to belittle me over my life choices?" This happened this morning. I agreed to help a work buddy to move since I had a large truck and a trailer that I could use. The plan was simple. I would show up at around 6:30 to 6:45 a.m. and we would start with the large stuff, couch, beds, etc., and file any open space left with the packing boxes. So while not everything had to be packed and ready to go, they were still living in the house, so you need access to some stuff. I told them to have at least 70 to 80% of it ready, and his wife and kids can pack the rest for when we were traveling to the new place about 50 minutes away. He agreed to pay for the gas, breakfast, and lunch. I agreed to be the driver and mover. Well, I show up at 6:38 on and give them a call. No pickup. So I go up to the room, which is on the 3rd floor, knock on the door, and no answer. So I try the phone again, and after checking that I have the right address, I don't want to wake up the wrong person, I try the door again. One of the kids opens up, and I'm relieved that I have the right place. I enter and find that a small pile of boxes on the wall and a large amount of junk just tossed around the room. I ask to make sure that everything is packed. I get some attitude from her about how she has kids and I don't, so I need to shut up about it. Buddy shows up and joins her, and I get about a dozen or so bingos about my life choices and how I need to help them out some more since they have kids and I don't. And I can start with buying everyone breakfast and helping pack the boxes. After about 20 minutes of this, I just left and went home. I have about 100 missed calls and texts right now from them, and have no real motivation to return to help them out. Edit, I started to read through the texts after cooling off a bit, and reading your replies. I have gotten half apologies, blaming a hangover, and that they were joking about breakfast, and asking what are they going to do without my help. So far, I have not responded, but I think my only response should be is, rent a truck. Edit 2, thank you everyone. This is going to be my last response for the day. Did I mention I got up at 4 a.m. to get everything ready and to leave at 6 a.m. to be there on time? So I'm going to get ready for bed soon. A few updates. I did call Mai and his superior and gave him a dry rundown on what happened, that they were not ready to move, and to ask if they needed to come in for that day since I was only 5 minutes away. I texted the other 2 managers to make sure as well. I am a jack-of-all-trades guy and can cover for everyone. But if they think I am busy with Buddy's move, they won't call me. And I am always happy for some overtime cash when I'm already in the area. I picked up some Hardees and went home and killed some digital ninjas with the all clear response. It seems that they're using the kids' phones to text and harass me as well. I think they're the kids' numbers since they're not in my caller ID. All I see is the phone number and provider. I've muted all the conversations, but I'm keeping a record of them. Also, Buddy was given a 3-day weekend just for this move, so I will not know more until Tuesday. I'm actually covering his shift for this on Monday. Normally, I only work 4 12 to 16 hours days a week. Whoa, those are 16-hour days, 4 in a row. I know that's normal for some people, but I would die. So I guess in this situation, OP is definitely not the a-hole. I don't get where these parents are coming from with their excuses to just abuse someone that's taken time out of their day to come help them so early in the morning. You are literal trailer trash, disgusting trash for saying that to OP. And he deserves, to just walk straight out, go home. Alright, you're not going to be helpful? See you later. This was a favor to you guys. Screw you. Bye. Sometimes you just have to take the high road and just say, alright. Your loss. Not the a-hole. They were getting free labor and a moving truck and decided to not be ready and then demand you buy them breakfast? Girl, bye. This, screw them. Dude, they were getting free labor plus a truck, saving hundreds of dollars, and had the balls to treat him like that. Ungrateful people are so cringy, and OP did the right thing by leaving and saving the text messages. They were just using him anyways, it looks like. With the $60 tip I gave my movers, it cost just over $2,000 to move my 2-bedroom apartment into my house. That's trucks and about 6 hours of labor. Obviously, they may not have paid for actual movers. I lived alone, so it literally was my only option. But I would have loved to get a truck and another person to help for free instead of spending $1,000. Absolutely not the a-hole. Lesson I learned as a kid that moved a lot: never pee off the guy with the truck, especially if you aren't paying them. They're already being inconvenienced by you just assuming they can help you because they have a truck. I would have charged at least $30 an hour for hard labor like that. Moved 7 years ago. Everything was packed in even weight boxes with destinations, furniture was disassembled to be easy to carry, the cellar storage had been moved before by car. 10 o'clock I was already loading boxes in the truck, 8 people showed up. By 10:30 everything was in the truck, by 10:45 we were at the new place. By 11:15 I went for a second round for a few things that did not fit. In the meantime, the other 6 people unpacked some stuff and assembled some furniture. I had filled the fridge with cookies, sandwiches, soda, beer, candy, and snacks. By 12 o'clock, we were sitting around the table having a merry time. We did a bit more unpacking and assembled a bed, and then headed to the pub where I bought everyone food and beer. It would probably have been cheaper to just hire a moving company, but now I got to meet my best friends and treat them for about 2 hours of work. And I wanted to read that one because that is a prime example of how to treat people doing free work for you. Posted by user General Gravicious, titled, "Am I the a-hole for living with my boyfriend and not wanting to pay rent?" So I've been with this guy for just over a year, and we live in different cities. So usually I just go see him every other week. But since now it's the summer, and I don't have to go to university for a while, I've basically been living with him for the past month or so, rarely going back home. Yesterday, he asked me if I could pay some of the rent, to which I replied that I already pay rent for my own place, and that his rent is really expensive, and I could never afford it. The flat is really nice, brand new, and in a prime location. We exchanged some more words, then he just got upset, and we haven't really talked ever since. I'd like to point out that his rent is 4 times my own, that I'm a student and I don't have a job. He has a full-time job, but he has been struggling a bit financially lately due to shutting down his Airbnb business because of the pandemic. I'd also like to add that I do pay my share of groceries and other necessities. This is just about rent. Edit. Since I've been asked to edit this in, it was at my boyfriend's request that I unofficially moved in with him. He definitely does not think I'm overstaying my welcome, and while I'm fine with living at home and visiting every now and then, he'd rather I stayed at his place. Thanks. You're the a-hole. It sucks that it's so expensive, but I don't think it's unreasonable for him to want some help with rent temporarily if you were living there basically full-time and contributing to the wear and tear of the place and whatnot. Quite relevant to check the comments in this case. OP was convinced by the boyfriend to stay over and gets whined at if they want to stay at their own place. Boyfriend can't demand OP's presence, but also ask for rent if OP would just as well stay at their own place. Soft, you're the a-hole. Are you also not using water, gas, electricity, Wi-Fi? A small contribution will go a long way. Just because you're a student doesn't mean you can get off with a few things. Not the a-hole. As long as you're not living there officially and you pay your share of groceries, it would be unreasonable to ask you to pay double rent. I'm surprised I'm not seeing more answers like this. FTR, not the a-hole. OP is still paying rent and utilities at their own place. If OP's partner wants them to stay there, there's no need to pay double rent. If OP gave up their own place and moved in, it would be different. But as the situation stands, it's not OP's problem that their partner is having a hard time paying their own rent. If you need additional income help, get a roommate.